صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة وعبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم، وأمن من لجأ إليكم. سادتي يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. Revive your gatherings with the second salawat. And the third, for the love of Fatima, with the loudest of your voices. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله في محكم كتابه: إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Today in our era, if asked who is the greatest military power today, everyone will say the United States of America. You go to the greatest general in the military and the Navy, you ask him what is the most crucial aspect in a soldier's life. He will answer the most crucial weapon in a soldier's life in and off the field is if he or she has effective habits. If a soldier has an ineffective habit, he will be destruction to civilization. He will be destruction to his own army and his own comrades and compadres. So, habits are what make a civilization either thrive or hit rock bottom. This was noticed in 480 BC by the first military camp or military by the Spartans in the Roman Empire. 480 BC, Leonidas, the king of the Spartans, realized that if I want effective soldiers, they must have effective habits in their life. He decides that a soldier or a young man is taken at the age of puberty by a learned soldier, by an adult, and he is taught the skills of warfare, the tactics of warfare, day and night. So when it comes to a day where he does have to raise a sword, he could close his eyes and fight an enemy. King Xerxes of Persia declares war against the Romans. It's said that he led an army of 1 million soldiers towards Rome. Until today, you see the thriving empire that is called the Persian Empire. The Persians march towards the Romans. They have to enter Rome through a crevice. But an army of 7,000 soldiers led by 300 Spartans who have created habits, none which any other soldier carries around the world, hold off this military of 1 million soldiers for 3 days. Until there was a traitor from the Romans who went and told Xerxes how to maneuver around the Persian or around the crevice to enter the Roman Empire. And victory was given to the Persians. But you see, brothers and sisters, that a habit, one single habit in a soldier's life, in a human's life, in any human's life can either gain success or a downfall. You go to a thriving company, multi-billion company, you tell them, how do you make your millions? They will tell you their scheme or their marketing plan. You ask them, what's your marketing plan? What's your marketing strategy? They tell you, we try to create as many social habits as we can. When we create as many social habits that we can, that's when we start bringing the forklifts to carry the money into the banks. You see the Kit Kat commercial. You need a break? Take a Kit Kat. How many of us love the Kit Kat bar? You're feeling hungry, why don't you take a bite out of a Snickers? They engrave and implant these habits unconsciously into the minds of the members of society. Because once a member of society, if he has been created, a habit has been created within him, then he'll need it, will need this object in his life more than anything else. Every single one of us wants comfort for our children. So a company like Pampers markets one thing. You want a comfy child. Where our comfies? For a toothpaste company, if you study how toothpaste was marketed in the West when the companies first started to thrive, because after World War II, so many gum diseases were in America and the West, because people would not brush their teeth. Until a man came and he said, I know how to market in a way that every single American will start to brush their teeth. And he puts up a plaque and a banner in the middle of every highway. He says, remove the tape off your teeth. And everyone starts to move their tongue over their teeth. There's a tape. I need to move that. A habit is created, and within a year, this toothpaste company becomes the highest and most thriving company in industry in the United States. Just through a habit. How is a habit created? A habit is a cue, a click, a routine, and a reward. Very simple. An athlete goes into a game. He's stressed. One of his team members tells him, take this. It's a piece of gum. It'll help you release stress when we're playing on the field. He takes this piece of gum. He plays much better. He scores. It's engraved in his head. The cue, I was stressed. The routine has changed. I have become a much better player on the field. I'm much more relaxed. And the reward is that we won the title. And now, a habit has been formed in this man's life. Every time he goes onto the field, he has to have chewing gum in his mouth. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Each one of us might think that every morning when we wake up, every single thing that we do, it's based on precise calculations, based on precise decisions, but it's not, brothers and sisters. Go look into the books that talk about how habits are created through psychology, you will see that 95% of the things that you do in your life, they're based on habits, and you have not made any decision. From the moment you wake up, what you will have for breakfast, it's based on habits. Don't think that you had peanut butter and jelly, you sat up all night thinking about it. It's a habit. How often you shower, how often you go to the barber, how often you get a pedicure, manicure, how you dress, the people you encounter, what kind of friends you would like to associate with. These are all based on habits created in your life. What type of men are interesting to you? You are attracted to what type of men? To what type of women you are attracted to? What type of friends you encounter and make in your circle of life? It's all based on a habit. How often you go to the masjid is a habit. How often you donate is a habit. How often I need to talk about the topic of death should become a habit because the money went up. So everything is a habit. But are our habits effective, we as Muslims? The habits that we contain as the Muslim Ummah, let alone the Shia Ummah, are our habits effective? Are our habits the habits that Islam actually wants and desires from us? 2004, Iraq is invaded by the American army. The American camp in Kufa is besieged every day by the Sadr army. Generals come in and out, they don't have a plan until they bring a person who has been studying the habits of societies and has a PhD and happens to be in the military. He comes for 3 days, he studies the habits of those attacking the camp. Look where they are, look where we are, brothers and sisters. Look at the difference of the Muslims and the non-Muslims. He says, for 3 days I sit and I study the habits of these people who are attacking us. They attack us right after dawn all the way to the time of noon. I see them go, they start eating kebabs. And after they eat kebabs, they become heavy. They go take a nap. They come back for 2 hours. They fight. And then they go back and eat some more kebabs. And then they go back to sleep. So why don't we bring more kebabs around the camp? And eventually, because he understood and realized that these people, if you tempt them and distract them with their stomach, they're no longer going to fight. The Americans come into our territory, and this is how simple of a chess game it is for them. Are we that simple? Are our habits so inactive that it only takes 3 days? Anyhow, after 3 days, the clashes are over. Mohandas Gandhi, he becomes victorious. Why? Because he changes the habit of his people. Instead of fighting, let's make peaceful demonstrations and let's see how far our voices go. He becomes victorious. Paul O'Neill, the CEO of Alcoa Company, changes his company from a company that is downfalling to a company that is skyrocketing just by changing the habits of his employees. He takes the position of a CEO in the year 1997 of Alcoa. Alcoa aluminum manufacturing company at the time was worth $5 billion. Losing stocks, losing investors. He comes in and they have a press release in New York. He gives a 5-minute talk. After his talk, 80% of the investors pull out their money from Alcoa company. What were they expecting? He gave them something none of them were expecting, because he told them the truth. Something very simple. He comes in, he goes on the platform, he's asked what will his changes be in the company. He says, the only thing I will change in the company and in this company's atmosphere is the change of habits between my employees, my managers. That's it. And he walks off. People go to shock. Investors go to shock. He's supposed to convince us for the next 3 hours. His strategy, his plan. No way I'm keeping my money in this company. 80% of the investors of Alcoa company that night pull out their money. But within 5 years, Alcoa becomes 5 times of what it was when Paul O'Neill took the position of CEO of this company. 5 times. So he made it into a $25 billion industry. That's a successful businessman. How? He says, our losses in the company, they're based upon the injuries that occur in the work atmosphere. If I create better habits, that means there is less injuries. That means there is more employees working for me. And that means more of a success rate and more production. How will we do this? Every time something happens on the field, if an employee gets injured, right away, he tells the manager, and within 48 hours, if there was not a notice on my desk, they're both fired. The manager and the employee. He causes a state of fear, creates a state of fear, control over his employees. Now, every time someone is injured, the manager tells the manager straight to Paul O'Neill. How do we fix this problem? Solve the injury, that injury never happens again. So we see how important an effective one person could be in a team. If he comes to a team and he changes their habits, everything changes. Everything starts to thrive and everything starts to skyrocket. We as Muslims, what do we have to change? What do we have to change as Muslims? We have so many habits that we need to change. We will illustrate and demonstrate some of them. Some of the 1,000 habits that we need to change. Habits that we need to change as Muslims is changing from a stale mode, from a checkmate position, and to checkmating other players on the chess game. For the past 1,400 years, we've been idle. No action. And the chess game, if you don't move, your voice isn't heard. And the chess game, if you're not moving, your opponent is not aware of your capability. We need to move, brothers and sisters. You need to make actions. You need to speak. You take out one of his opponents out, you will be alert. He will be looking for you. He will be listening to you. Why is it that 400 million Shia Muslims are less powerful than another sect of 2 million? They're less powerful than a sect of 2 million. That means we are 200 times their number, where there are 200 years before us. Why? You see, the sect, they come to Karbala, they're treated like royalty. They go to Saudi Arabia, they're treated like royalty. They go to the West, they're treated like royalty. Why? Because they know that one movement in the chess game means a lot. It means a lot. We need to move, brothers and sisters. We need to act. This year in Mina, our group was attacked. I won't go into details. You could read on the newspapers. But because of one tweet after the attack, I tweeted once and 6 different newspapers wrote of this incident. One of them being USA Today, Washington Times, Detroit Free Press, and other newspapers. Imagine if the rest of our group had also tweeted, had also went to the media. Do you think the kingdom of Saudi Arabia will continue its tyranny till today? Do you think that Bahraini people will be under the tyranny of Saudi Arabia till today? Do you think that the sanctions on some of our countries will be still held up today? No. It's because no one speaks, brothers and sisters. We're sleeper cells. None of us speak out. Why is it that I'm the only one that spoke out? Even the people who were attacked in our group didn't even have the decency to go back to their countries and to say we were attacked. When it's so simple. From a tweet, you're in a newspaper, your voice is heard. Imagine if you go stand in front of people. If you go stand in your public schools, public colleges, you address the Senate, you address the Congress. This is a free country. America is a free country. Canada is a free country. You could show your voice to others. And your voice is heard. This is not a country where people are oppressed. It's not like Saudi Arabia or Bahrain or Qatar or Jordan, where if you speak, you are imprisoned. Or your head taken by the sword. But this is where it counts, brothers and sisters. Why is it that we blackball and blackmail each other when it comes to everything? Why? Why is it that we always have to scatter? Why can't we unite as one? Why can't we build fortresses instead of small huts? صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أمير المؤمنين عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام says, فوالله ما غزي قوم قط في عقر دارهم حتى ذلوا فتواكلتم وتخاذلتم حتى شنت عليكم الغارات. He says, by the Lord of man, that not one nation, they were besieged in their home turf, their home territory, until they were annihilated. Till they were annihilated. And who is he speaking to? Do you think he's speaking to the Jews in Jerusalem? Or he's speaking to who? He's speaking to you and I. He's speaking to the Muslims that were surrounding him. He says that you Muslims, you wait for everyone to come and smack you on the head. You wait for everyone to rise. The first people who they trample is you. The first person who they plow through is you. تَخَاذَلْتُمْ وَتَآكَلْتُمْ حَتَّى شُنَّتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْغَارَاتِ. And every time you are besieged, instead of standing together, you blackball each other. You blackmail each other. You're just like the man who went and told the Persians or Xerxes the strategy of Leonidas. This is exactly how we act. Instead of coming together in the state of war against secular society upon us, we scatter. We build small huts instead of building a fort. So every time when the wolves do come by, they could grab us so easily. Brothers and sisters, when you come to this country, when you came and you had kids in this country, you thought you came as a Lebanese. You thought you came as an Iraqi. You thought you came as a Khoja from Tanzania, and the other one Khoja from Dar es Salaam, and the other one from Kenya. No, when you come here, you're all one. You're all Muslims. This society does not see any difference. It does not see any difference. You and I, when we stand together, He's not going to say Sayyid is from Iraq, this guy is from Africa or from Pakistan or India. And our kids, they're not going to have problems regarding their culture. Our young brothers and sisters have problems regarding their religion and faith. So instead of building cultural places, build somewhere your sons and daughters can have something to fight with, and that is faith and iman. We have to come together, brothers and sisters. Some of the elders don't even have a clue of the problems that occur in the life of their children. And instead of coming as one and creating one united family, because we all have the same problems. If I was in high school and your son and daughter were in the same high school, the kids don't ask us about our ethnicity. We're labeled all as one. They are the Islams. We're all labeled as one. So why not create a circle of Muslim youth where the Muslims can unite, where we could have a mansion, where we could have a castle and a fort. You know, when I grew up in Los Angeles, we were a group of 10 to 15 boys in the same class. But till today, our friendship from elementary school till today, it continues. I never befriended a Westerner. Very little. Why? Because our circle was closed. I didn't need anyone else. We're Persian, we're from Pakistani, Iraqi, but we all had one thing in common. We're Muslim. And we had the love of Ahlul Bayt in our hearts. Till today, one is in Emirates, one is in Turkey, one is in America, one is in London. We're scattered all around the world. But we text and talk every day. Because it is important to know that we are from one Father. And we carry one belief. And the secular society sees you as one as well. So why differentiate? Why place the gaps? Why break the lines? You stand for prayer together. Why is it that during your personal life, your social life, you don't stand together? صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. It's going to be warm water. الثانية على حب الحسين. صلى الله عليه وآله. The Prophet says, الجماعة رحمة والفرقة تهلكة وعذاب. The Prophet, peace be upon him, says unity is mercy and disunity is adhab, punishment. Punishment. We punish ourselves. Every community that you go to, from Vancouver to Montreal to Edmonton to New York to Chicago to Los Angeles, we're scattered everywhere. Everywhere. When the Prophet is so clear, he's saying, Al-Wahda Rahmah, Al-Jama'a Rahmah. It's mercy. And disunity is you punishing yourselves. Adhab, it's punishment. You punish yourselves. So why are we so naive? We have CEOs, we have thriving millionaires, we have professors, we have doctors, we have architects. But something so simple we do not understand. That today this is something most needed, brothers and sisters. If it's not in other communities, let the Edmonton community be the first community to unite. Come together, bring our kids together. Iraqi, Lebanese, Afghani, Iranian, black, white, Mexican, as long as we are under one belief and one flag, and that is the flag of Imam Hussein. This is all we need. And Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi السلام says, لا تكونوا أنصاب الفتن وأعلام البدع وألزموا ما عقد عليه حبل الجماعة وثبت عليه أركان الطاعة. He says, Don't be of those who corrupt communities and societies by breaking them apart. Don't break the shackles. Don't break the shackles. Implant and create foundations of unity. Of unity. And you know what else he says? Those foundations are arkan al-ta'a. They are the foundations of worship and servitude. So if you break these foundations, you are smart individuals to figure out the rest. If 10 individuals were in a city, brothers and sisters, 10 brothers, they're in a home, they're told in 1 hour your home will be attacked by 10 individuals, by mobsters, and they will kill all of you. Is it the smartest idea for them to scatter? No. If you were told that you will be attacked by a pack of wolves, is it the smartest thing to scatter or to stand together and fight together? Place your backs upon each other, your shoulders next to each other. Which one's more effective? But why is it that us Muslims, for the past 1400 years, we can't even accumulate these positive habits? These habits that every other civilization can encounter except us. Have we ever thought of this? Have our intellectuals sat and thought of this? Let's sit and actually unite instead of disunity. And brothers and sisters, nothing is important when it comes that we all carry one thing. We carry the same belief and we follow the same leaders. Anything else should not be important. Which city you're from, what ethnicity you are, who you follow. These are simple things. Or what your political views are. Why can't we respect each other enough to respect each other's political views? Or which leader we follow? Or which city we're from? Can you believe in some communities, they break the tie because this guy is from this city, we are the people of this city, and we are the people of this city, so let's have different places? Isn't this unfortunate? But this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us. This is not what Amir al-Mu'mineen taught us. This is not what Islam teaches us. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, يُمِيتُ الْقَلْبُ وَيَجْلَبُ الْهَمْ من اجتماع هؤلاء القوم على باطلهم وتفرقكم على حقكم. He says, it makes my heart bleed. It makes my heart bleed to see them stand together on their injustice and to see you dismantled while you carry justice. Look at the pain inside the heart of the Imam. And now, you hear people, they come with the weirdest analogies why the Imam is not appearing. He comes with these weird analogies. The Imam is waiting this and this because of this and this. No, the Imam is not appearing because we're so scrambled. What is he going to fight with? Imam Hassan alayhi salam was asked to fight. He said, what am I going to fight with? Who am I going to fight with? If I had 5 individuals of one of the companions that he points to, he said, I would have risen. But I don't even have 5. Imam Hassan is sitting in his tent in the middle of his military camp. They come, they remove his sajada from him, from under him. They lift his turban off his head because they could not reunite. They could not unite. And we still, till today, 1433, we still can't unite. And exactly the same words are on the tongue of Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam. The same words that his grandfather Amir al-Mu'mineen. Yajlibul ham, it breaks my heart. It makes my heart bleed that you are so dismantled, O our followers. He's not speaking to other civilizations and other people besides us, the Shia Muslims. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. Can you bring hot water, please? Now, the second habit that must be changed in every single Shia community. What is it? Before almost every community that I go to, my other speakers go to, my colleagues, the first thing we hear is, what's the most apparent problem in your community? They say we have so many problems with our youth. Our youth are so lost. And the first thing that I think is why don't you give them any responsibilities? Every community that you go to, you see that the youth have no responsibilities at all in the community. At all. This is the first time that I see someone mid-age, he's a chairman of a community or a jama'ah. But usually when you go to a community and a jama'ah, it's the oldest uncle that you have to scream for him to understand what you're saying, and usually sitting on the chair sleeping. Why isn't it that we bring our young brothers and sisters and have them work? A young heart is much more thriving than an old heart. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi started his message with the youngsters. He didn't go to the elders. He knew they were already ancient. They were artifacts. They have no use. So why don't we bring the youth in? Have you ever thought of this? Let's make this young man, let's place him in this position. Let's see what he does. Let's see his capabilities. Let's see how far he takes us. Why is it that we always have to bring the eldest one in the community to place him as a leader? When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, in most of his crucial positions, he would place a young man. Before his message to Medina, he sends Mus'ab ibn Umayr, a young man that's 21 years old, to preach the message of Islam. The messenger of Rasulullah, the first messenger, is a young man at the age of 21. Give responsibilities to them. See what they do. When you don't give responsibilities to them and they go to society and they're lost in society, you come and say, why is it that our youth are lost? It's because you haven't given them a responsibility. You haven't asked them to help. You haven't asked them to give you their hands. You haven't asked them to show you what they could do. Ask them. Tell them, show me what you could do, and see what he could do. See what big of a change will occur in our communities. Before the death of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who is the young man that he placed as the commander of the Muslims? Osama. How old was Osama? And exactly what occurs today. You see that the elders, they come and complain. This guy is so young, he doesn't know how to do this, he doesn't know how to do that. Exactly at the time of Rasulullah. They come, the elders, and they say, oh Rasulullah, this guy is a young man, we're not going to follow him. The Prophet tells them, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ تَخَلَّفَ عَنْ جَيْشِ أُسَامَةَ. May Allah curse those who leave the army of Osama. Why is it that you don't want to follow him? Islam is not based on age and gray hairs. It's based on intellect and what you have in your heart. And what you have in your heart. I myself can't say I am better than a black person because I'm a Sayyid. When the Prophet says the heavens was created, even if it were for a black man, and the fires of hell were created, even if he was a Sayyid from Quraysh. This is Islam, but do we implement, or our habits have blinded us so much that we don't see anything? Let's change our habits. Let's see where they take us. Let's see where we go next when we change our habits from inactive to active habits. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We live in a society that, your accomplishments are as the horizon. As far as you could see, that's how much you could accomplish. Your accomplishments are as big as your duffel bag. How much you could place in your duffel bag, that's how much you could achieve. How much you could carry, that's how much we'll let you carry. How much are we carrying, brothers and sisters? How far is our horizon? How far is our horizon? Are we thinking that in 5, 6, 7 generations will our kids be in this society? Or are we just thinking of today, where me and my friends are going to have coffee and talk about what happened in our country? Have we ever thought of these things? It was so difficult for us as teenagers, even those who are, they came after their teenage life, but they've grown up to have kids here. How hard was it for you when you went to college and university? And that was probably in the 80s. Now, 2013, your child is in elementary school. Do you know how hard it is now? I remember I was talking to this kid after Obama gave the speech about homosexuals. He said, the next day when I went to school, I was scared. I had to ask people, are you straight or are you gay? Because now I live in a society that I don't know who to befriend. I don't know who to walk with. Because society here, this is a norm. This is something normal. You're in high school, kids are drinking in school, doing drugs in school. Girls are dating from elementary school. You best believe that. And what's going to happen in 2 generations, 3 generations, 4 generations? Can you even imagine? Within the last 10 years, our phones were heavier than cement blocks. Now, our phones, you could talk to your mother and father all the way across the planet, and you could see them face to face. What's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years? Are we building the right fortress? Are we building the right environment for our youth, for our children to come? Are we planning that the sun rises from the west? Or are we not? And you know what I call this generation of our time? I call them the cotton candy generation. They're cotton candy. Everything's handed to them. From wealth to their homes, everything. Even their faith. Even their faith. They take everything for granted. Everything for granted. So when their parents tell them to come to the masjid, I don't want to go to the masjid. I don't want to go listen to a lecture. You're old school. You don't even know what's going on. I'd rather watch the Canucks play hockey. Everything is handed to them, from their clothes to their education, even their religion. Your parents are telling you to come to the masjid is because they know you're not going to earn an extra $1 sitting here for 45 minutes. You're not going to find your next date for sure. But they want you to know that there's a hereafter. There's something that you and I must work for. They don't want you to lose reality. Yes, go earn a living, become successful, but don't lose who you are. Don't lose your persona. You're a Muslim. Don't lose that to society. Yes, your parents worked hard for you. You're probably driving a nice car. You wear nice clothes. But when they tell you to come to the masjid, they don't want to harm you. They don't want to waste your time. They want to ensure your future. When a mother sits and cries, it's not because she doesn't want you to have fun. When a father is angry, it's not because he doesn't want you to go out and have fun. It's because he's scared for your hereafter. He's scared of the choices that you make and the habits you accumulate. So let's build a better atmosphere for ourselves. Let's create better habits. Habits can change a company from a $5 billion company to a $25 billion company. They could give you independence, and they could give you much more. And one habit, if we change, the sun will rise from the west, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, let's examine the day of Ashura, or the voyage of Imam Hussein. On a day like yesterday, Imam Hussein reached the boundaries of Karbala. When we study the history of Imam Hussein, let's always try to analyze it. The people who attended, his enemies, his companions, himself, his sisters, the children. Now that we have given this introduction, what are some habits that were changed on the day or to the way to Karbala? How many of you could tell me of a person who changed his habit on the day of Ashura? Ahsant. Hur was a fleet commander. That means he was rich. That means he lived in a nice house. That means he had the nicest horse, equivalent to a McLaren. Yeah. But he stood on the day of Ashura and he said, the habits that I have accumulated all my life, the way I have been living all my life, is this how I want to live? Or do I need to change my habits? Those habits will earn me this satisfaction on the day of judgment. Those habits will give me eternal doom. But if I change my habits now and go with Hussein, just because of one habit, it will be paradise and eternal happiness. Another companion by the name of Zuhair ibn al-Qayn al-Bajali. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn al-Bajali was also known to be a noble. Imam Hussein, before he reaches Karbala, he sees the tents of Bani Muqatil, spears before them, and the fires lit, meaning that there's military men attending this gathering. Imam Hussein asks, whose camp is this? They tell him this is the camp of Zuhair. Imam Hussein sends his messenger to Zuhair and he tells him, "Oh Zuhair, I am going to Karbala. I will fight tyranny in the Ummah of my grandfather. Are you with me or not with me?" The narrator says, when the messenger came, Zuhair was eating. His wife came to him and she told him, "Who was this man that came to you?" He says, "This is the messenger of Hussein." She tells him, "The messenger of the grandson of the daughter of the Prophet has sent and come to you, and you're still eating? Get up!" Some wives are a blessing in a family. He gets up with his ego high. He goes to Hussein. He goes to Hussein. Imam Hussein talks to him for a few moments. And he tells him, "You remember when you were in that war, when you went to the Turks? You remember what one of the companions told you, the hadith that he told you? That what Rasulullah had told him to tell you?" He sits and he thinks, and he says, "Yes, now I remember." He tells him, "Zuhair, what was that message?" He says, "Your grandfather had told me, oh Zuhair, if you hear of the uprising of my son Hussein, go to him." Zuhair starts to cry and shed tears. He kisses the hands of Hussein. He tells him, "Oh my Mawla, wait a few moments. I will go grab my sword." He comes back to the tent, a different man. He's shaken up, he is crying. His wife asks him, "Oh Zuhair, A moment ago you did not want to go. He says, yes, but Hussein told me of a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And oh my wife, I have changed my life. I am now Husseini. I am going to Hussein with you or without you. She says, no, Allah, I will not stand by Hussein if I do not stand by Zainab. I will stand by the daughters of Rasulullah. He goes, he gets his horse ready, and he is standing now outside the camp of Hussein. Now the camp of Hussein starts to move. They reach a new land. The horse of Hussein stops, brothers and sisters. Imam Hussein gets on top of another horse. He starts to hit the horse so it moves. The horse does not move. He changes 7 horses until he says, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. What is the name of this land, O people? They say this land is Nainawa. He says, no, does it have another name? They say this is the land of Ghadariya. He says, no, does it have another name? They say this is the land of Furat. He says, no, is there another name? They say, yes, this is the land of Karbala. Imam takes a deep breath. He says, oh Allah, this is where we will be taken as captives. Oh Allah, Abbas, that is where your heads will be separated. Oh Zainab, this is where you will stand to look at me while Shimr sits on my chest. He tells them to settle. He says, oh Bani Hashim, let's gather. Let's set up tent. Hur comes to him and he tells him that you cannot stay. He says, oh Hur, let us be by the land of Furat, by the land of Karbun wa Bala. Oh Hur, do you know what I heard from my grandfather as a child? He says, when I went to paradise, Jibreel showed me this land, and he told Salama that when you see this dirt turn red, you have known that my son Hussein has been martyred. I remember when we passed through this land with my father Amir al-Mu'mineen. After coming from Siffin, my father stood on this land. He carried the dust. He took a sip and he started to cry. He looked at me, he said, oh Hussein, may Allah curse those who behead you in this land. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Oh Allah, for the sake of Imam Hussein, accept our dues. Oh Allah, guide us to create better habits so we become better Muslims, so we serve Islam and the household of Muhammad in a better way. Oh Allah, protect our youth. Oh Allah, protect our sisters. Oh Allah, implant faith and iman into our hearts. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of Sayyidina wa Mawlana Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
बुला कर सब को हजरत ने कहाँ ए कर बला